Hey everyone. So, if you're planning for retirement here in Georgia, you've probably asked yourself, what does the average retirement income actually look like? Well, today we're going to break down those numbers, and more importantly, we're going to talk about what they really mean for your plan. All right, let's get right into it. First things first, let's talk about the foundation for so many retirees, Social Security. For 2025, the average monthly benefit for a retiree in Georgia is expected to be about $1,907. Now, that number is a really crucial starting point for this whole conversation. But of course, Social Security is rarely the whole story, right? When you start adding in all the other sources, 401k withdrawals, maybe a pension, other savings, the typical total retirement income for a Georgian lands somewhere between $45,000 and $50,000 a year. And on the surface, that might sound okay, but trust me, that's only half the story. See, a number like that doesn't really mean much on its own. To get the real picture, you have to put it side by side with what people were earning before they retired. And this is where that idea of a retirement pay cut gets very, very real. And this chart, wow, it really shows you the gap. Just look at this. Over on the left, you've got Georgia's median household income sitting at nearly $73,000. Now compare that to the average retirement income on the right, around $47,500. That's a drop of over 30%. This makes it so clear why you can't just coast into retirement. You have to plan for this income shift. So we've looked at the averages, but here's the thing, and this is probably the most important point we're going to make today. Building your retirement plan based on somebody else's average is one of the biggest mistakes you can make. It's a trap, and it can lead to some serious problems down the road. So let's just ask it straight up, because this is really the core of what we're talking about. Why is this number, this so-called average, so dangerous when you're trying to figure out if you have enough to retire on comfortably? Well, think about it. An average just mushes a bunch of completely different situations together. It takes someone who had a high-paying career for 40 years and blends them with someone who worked part-time. It mixes a person with a paid-off house in a small town with someone who's still renting in Metro Atlanta. The average simply doesn't apply to any single one of us. Your numbers are the only ones that matter. Okay, enough about the problem. Let's talk solutions. Because the good news is there are some really solid, practical things you can do to build a much stronger retirement income right here in Georgia. Think of this next part as your personal toolkit. We're going to focus on three key areas. First, getting a handle on Georgia's surprisingly friendly tax rules for retirees. Second, building what I like to call an income floor to cover all your must-haves. And third, engineering your withdrawals so that your money lasts as long as you do. All right, first up, taxes. And I promise this isn't the boring part, because in Georgia, if you understand the tax rules, you gain this incredible leverage to boost your actual spendable income, all without taking on a single ounce of new investment risk. So here's the headline. Georgia does not tax your Social Security benefits. That is a huge win right there. But on top of that, the state has this powerful tax break called the retirement income exclusion. And just look at this chart. For 2025, once you hit 65, you can exclude up to $65,000 of most other retirement income, and that's per person. For a married couple, that could mean shielding up to $130,000 from state taxes. That's a game changer. Next up, let's build that income floor. This is all about making sure your non-negotiable expenses, the mortgage, groceries, utilities, are covered, no matter what the stock market is doing. And a key tool for this is something called a Guaranteed Lifetime Withdrawal Benefit, or GLW. It's a feature you can get on some annuities that basically acts like your own personal pension. It gives you a predictable paycheck for life. And finally, we've got to engineer those withdrawals. You've really got two paths here. There's the reactive approach, which is just taking money out when you need it. That can lead to nasty tax surprises and the very real risk of outliving your savings. But then there's the proactive plan. That's where you coordinate withdrawals with Georgia's tax rules, you strategically decide when to take Social Security, and you use tools like Roth conversions to manage taxes down the road. It's the difference between letting your retirement happen to you and making it happen for you. But let's be real. Life happens, right? Even the most perfect plan can run into obstacles. Knowing what they are ahead of time is half the battle. So let's quickly cover a couple of common roadblocks for Georgia retirees and, more importantly, how to get around them. First up is a little surprise I like to call the RMD tax bomb. This thing can go off when you turn 73. It's when the IRS says, okay, you have to start taking money out of your traditional IRAs and 401ks. And those forced withdrawals, called RMDs, can suddenly push you into a much higher tax bracket right when you least expect it. So, how do you diffuse it? Well, there are two powerful strategies. First, you can use those early years of retirement when your income might be lower as a Roth conversion window. You move money from a traditional IRA to a Roth, paying the taxes now, likely at a lower rate. Second, you could look into something called a QLAC. This lets you defer a chunk of your IRA, up to $210,000 in 2025, and the taxes on it, all the way out to age 85. Another big fear, and it's a totally valid one, is having a major market drop right after you retire. There's a technical name for this, sequence of returns risk, but all it really means is you're forced to sell your investments when they're down just to pay your bills, which locks in your losses at the worst possible time. And how do you protect yourself? Well, it all comes back to building that strong foundation. You cover your essential, non-negotiable expenses with guaranteed income that isn't tied to the market. That way, you're never forced to sell stocks in a downturn. It also really helps to keep about 2 to 3 years of your planned living expenses in something safe and liquid, like cash. It just creates a buffer, giving your investments time to bounce back. So, after going through all of this, what's the one big takeaway? It's really simple. When it comes to your retirement, the only numbers that matter are your numbers. The goal isn't to hit some generic average. It's to build a plan that is perfectly suited to you and your life. You know, there's a quote from the source material that just says it perfectly. A successful retirement isn't about hitting a benchmark. It's about creating a durable, reliable income stream that fits your specific life, your savings, your spending, and your goals. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Take a good, hard look at your own strategy. Is it built on a bunch of assumptions and averages, or is it truly built for you and the life you want to live here in Georgia? Thanks for tuning in.